there, it's Nicole for Lawnfawn, and today I'm sharing a reveal wheel card featuring the Upon a Star stamps and dies used to create this fun little fireworks scene card with the interactive reveal wheel. The reveal wheel is probably my favorite interactive type of card currently. I just think it's brilliant. It's so much fun. There's also some amazing add-ons with the little ice cream cone and also the thought bubble, so you might want to check those out too. I'm actually going to use the little insert here in my die that comes with the reveal wheel set. We're going to die cut that from some Bristol smooth cardstock for the front of the panel. I am purposely leaving in the die cutting today. I want to share all of the steps. I did all of my die cutting first. Everything on this card is customized with ink except for the little sentiment strip along the bottom edge. So for this reveal wheel, the front panel needs the cutout. That's what's going to reveal the sentiment. So I went ahead and die cut that first. Then I am die cutting the wheel and also the little interactive circle that goes on the back that kind of holds that wheel in place so that it spins. I went ahead and die cut the reveal wheel from Bristol Smooth cardstock as well. Today we're going to be customizing that with some Distress Oxide ink, just like we're distressing the front panel. So there are those two elements. I've also used my reveal wheel die to just die cut some scraps of paper. I really like to have any layering pieces the same size as my panel, whether I'm doing a reveal wheel or just a stitched rectangle or whatever it might be. So I've done this from a couple of scraps of paper, and then I am taking simple Grassy Hillsides, the two of those Grassy Hillside dies, and die cutting borders that are going to go along the bottom edge of my card. I tend to like, if I'm tucking critters into grass, to tuck them in between the two layers rather than having them tucked behind one and then just against the sky. To me, it looks a little more natural to have them tucked between two layers. So I've done this twice. I used two different border dies to get those. I'm using the first layer as a guide to know where I want to put my second one. I'm using a little post-it tape to hold that in place and then running that through my die cutting machine. By die cutting all of my elements first, I have a super good idea of what all I have, what all I need to ink, and if there's anything else that I need. I generally lay everything out ahead of time and then go ahead and do my die cutting and then do my stamping, do my coloring, and then put it all together, which is what we're going to do here. Now, before we add the inking, I want to have those firework bursts. These are the stitched fireworks, and I am going to go ahead and kind of lay these out. I did the big one centered right over that reveal wheel window, and then I've got my medium and small. One thing about the stitched fireworks, it's going to cut this little piece, a little triangle piece up there at the top. You see where it's missing a little piece. That's really going to kind of mess up my panel, but instead of redoing it, I'm just going to hold on to that piece. You might see it in the upper right corner of the screen. I will show you how I fix this because there's actually another little piece that pops out here in a minute where two of my stitched fireworks overlap. I don't want to lose those because I don't want any reveal wheel pieces showing through those, or I don't want my background showing through those. I want it to look like a night sky, and there's a really easy fix for that. So now I am just going to take my reveal wheel. I'm going to do a little prep work. For me, the easiest way to do this is to simply divide the reveal wheel into quadrants. So I take a pencil, I take a ruler, and I very, very lightly draw a line through the center and then draw a line through the center again. This is simply prep work. Those are going to have to be erased, but this allows me to know exactly where everything goes. Now I have a brad that I'm going to put the small circle on the back of the reveal wheel. I'm going to thread my brad through the front, put some foam adhesive squares on that small circle, and now I'm going to line up the reveal wheel with the window opening on the front panel, and I'm going to temporarily attach everything here so that I can line this up, draw my windows so I know exactly where to stamp my sentiments. So what I like to do is I want to center this first, and I'm just layering the front panel over the back. We've attached that small wheel with the brad to the background panel, which does not have a reveal wheel cutout. And then I'm going to draw in my windows. And that first one was not centered correctly. So I'm going to center it, layer my reveal wheel panel over that, and then I draw the windows. So I'll center it again, draw my window. I'm using a very light hand with my pencil. I'm going to keep doing this until I have all 4 windows. I had already pre-planned which sentiments from the Reveal Wheel Sentiments stamp set I was going to use, so it gave me a really easy guide to know what area I needed to fit. Now this is fixing my panel. I am just taking some pieces of Post-it tape, you could use washi tape as well, replacing those pieces on the back of the panel, taping them in place. This is never going to be seen. No one will ever know that's back there. And it immediately fixes your panel without having to re-die cut anything. I have got some sponge daubers, which are going to be a much smaller sponge than the traditional ink blending tools. And I'm applying picked raspberry, spiced marmalade, and squeezed lemonade to some of my fireworks. I decided to add the color first and then go in with the background and blend because I wanted that color to be predominant. I wanted those little bursts of color up in the sky, if you will. Next, I'm going around everything with my shaded lilac Distress Oxide ink. This color is going to be predominant more down near the grassy border edge, but I went ahead and filled everything in with this first. Then I will take some black soot, which is going to be up at the very top. It's going to be minimal, but just helps give that night sky type of feel to this. And then the blending color in between shaded lilac and black soot is going to be Blueprint Sketch. This is one of my favorite color combinations, and it does take a little bit of work to get the nice seamless blending because where those fireworks are, it definitely doesn't look good as is. So once I have kind of those 3 background colors blended, I'm going to go back with my picked raspberry, spiced marmalade, and squeezed lemonade and kind of blend in my fireworks, blend those out into the sky. Do as much work as you need to get that a nice blend. You can see I'm cleaning off my sponge daubers on a scrap piece of paper to kind of help get rid of some of that dark ink that transfers to those. These are inexpensive. If you need to replace them, you totally can. This is just one of those instances where I find it's much easier and I have more control to use a smaller sponge tool. Now I even want to add a little bit of color or a hint of color to that large firework that is bursting from the reveal wheel window. So I used a little picked raspberry there to do that. And then I'm going to spritz this whole background with water from a distress sprayer. So let's move everything out of the way. I don't want to get anything else wet accidentally, which definitely can happen. And I decided there was a little bit more shading that needed to happen around that yellow squeezed lemonade firework. Spritzed with water, I'm going to use a dry paper towel to pick up my water droplets. And I love how the sky turned out. Now, just like the sky, I want to add color to my grass, but I don't think a bright green grass looks great for a nighttime scene. So I'm using peeled paint, and just along the edges of the grass blades, I'm going to blend in some black soot distress ink, and then blend that out with the peeled paint ink blending tool until I get a nice seamless blend. That little hint of black soot gives the grass a much more nighttime rich feel and not so bright sunshiny like maybe a mowed lawn or twisted citron or even lucky clover would. Next, we're going to go back to our reveal wheel, and I'm using a powder deactivation tool, a clear embossing ink, and I am stamping the 4 words that I picked for my reveal wheel here today. That's going to be magical, terrific, amazing, and fabulous. And I'm stamping those right in the center of each of my little window cutouts, adding the Lawn Fawn white embossing powder, and then we are going to heat set all of these. And once they're heat set, that is when you can go ahead and remove your pencil lines. We've already done all the work. We know exactly where we need to stamp those so that we had enough room to fit all of our words onto the reveal wheel. And it's really important to get rid of those pencil lines so it doesn't ruin the overall finished effect of your reveal wheel. That's why I use a really light hand to draw those in. It makes it much easier to remove those. So I'm just going around all the pencil lines. I'm not going over the embossing. I don't want to mess up any of my stamping. No matter what medium I use to stamp, I always try to avoid erasing over the actual inking. And I know it's really hard to see the greetings, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my blueprint sketch, Distress inking tool, and add ink to this. And you can see with a little embossed resist, the 4 sentiments are just popping off that background. It's really important at this point. I did spritz it with a little water to kind of match the background and dry that off, but I'm going to use a dry corner of the paper towel to buff any ink that might be sitting on top of the embossed sentiments off so that they're nice, crisp, black white, or black white, nice, crisp, and white. We can go ahead and replace the reveal wheel now. Go ahead and push that brad out. And here's how it's looking. You can see when you spin that around, look how fun that is. All those little sentiments are going to show up. So a couple more things before we add the top panel on the reveal wheel panel. And that is anything that's going to be stamped directly on this panel needs to happen before we add this with the foam adhesive squares. So I've got 2 lines of text that read "just want to say you are so" that are going to be stamped above the reveal wheel window. This is from the Reveal Wheel Sentiments stamp set. I'm going to center those, stamp those with a clear embossing ink, and heat set those with white embossing powder. And that's going to finish off the sentiment at the top of the card. In addition to the text, I'm also going to take the little trio of stars and the single star from the Upon a Star stamp set and add those into my nighttime scene. This is going to add a lot of interest to this. You could emboss these with colorful ink if you wanted to. I think gold or silver would be kind of fun too. I decided to go white. Helps tie in the white of the embossed greetings, the white of the card base itself. I just liked how the white looked against these colors. And what I'm going to do is stamp all of my stars, sprinkle on my embossing powder, and then heat set all of the images at once. So while I'm sprinkling on the embossing powder, I have not heat set it yet. I need to add that embossing powder because it's really hard to see where all you've stamped if you don't add that. And I want to make sure that I just have a nice scattering of stars all over my background. And then I will heat set this, and then we can start attaching this panel to our reveal wheel itself and put the whole thing together. Love these little white stars all over the background. I really like the scrapbook adhesives, foam adhesive squares. They're a nice low profile, but they still allow the reveal wheel interactive element to spin freely. You can use whatever foam adhesive you like the best. This is just a nice, pretty low profile one. And so my card's still going to fit in an envelope pretty easily. I'm very generous with my foam adhesive because I don't want any little dips in the front panel. So I'm making sure and filling in all that area, but making sure that my reveal wheel can still spin really easily. Then I'm going to peel off the backing paper from all of these foam adhesive squares, and we're going to replace our front panel right on top of here. And then we simply have the finishing details and adding the stamped and colored critters to finish this card up. So this truly is working from the background out. The background is the star of the show. It's what makes this scene card so much fun. So here's what it looks like with the front panel on the reveal wheel. Here's the reveal wheel spinning. You can see how easy it is to spin that. Just love this reveal wheel. You can create so many different kinds of cards with this amazing die set. In the center of my fireworks, and also just kind of scattered about the sky, I decided to take White Blizzard Nouveau Crystal Drops and add these throughout. It's going to add a nice sparkly little finish to my card. I think it really works nice with the fireworks. I'm going to take my tape runner, add adhesive to my borders, and then pop those in place along the bottom edge. Each little step just makes the scene come more and more to life. I'm also going to grab a scrap of black licorice lawn fawn cardstock and some sentiments from the Upon a Star stamp set. I'm going to line these up, stamp this phrase on the black cardstock with embossing ink, sprinkle on a little white embossing powder, and then we're going to trim this into a strip that's going to be attached along the bottom edge of the card. If you didn't want to add an additional strip to the design, you could have gone ahead and before adding that top border to the card, stamped these sentiments on that grassy border and embossed it with white. That would look really fun too. I like how this sentiment works really well with the reveal wheel sentiments that we used up above. Kind of ties the whole thing together. I'm going to use my tonic guillotine trimmer, trim that into a little thin strip. I love 1/8 inch score tape to attach little thin sentiment strips to my cards. So I'm going to trim off that excess, wipe away any of that powder tool, and then we will put the 1/8 inch score tape on the back of this and pop it in place along the bottom edge of the card. And I want to get this centered as close to possible. And I kind of kept fiddling with it, trying to get it exactly right. And that looks pretty good. Next, I've got a white top fold card base here, and I'm going to take a turn the wheel sentiment from the reveal wheel sentiment stamp set and stamp that along the card base so that the recipient knows to turn this wheel because it's going to do something. If it's not automatically evident, which it probably is, but I love that Lawn Fawn provides us with those sentiments because I think it's fabulous. I'm going to stamp that right on the card base itself, glue my reveal wheel in place. And finally, we are ready for the cute little critters from the Upon a Star stamp set. I stamped the large bunny and the large fox, and then that heart actually comes from the RAR stamp set, the little mini dinosaur stamp set. I wanted an open heart design that I could color with Copics that also had a coordinating die. So I just went through my Lawn Fawn stash and found one that would work. I stamped it 3 times, and then I'm coloring everything in with Copic markers. The colors I'm using are shown across the top of the screen. The bunny is E30, 31 and 35. The hearts are our 30, 32, and 35. And then the fox is going to be E0000 just for the tip of the tail. And then the rest of the fox is E11, 13, 15, and 18. Originally, I was hoping for 15 to be my darkest color, and it just wasn't giving me enough of that shadowing and contrast. So I ended up going in with a little E18 and not blending it out near as much. And I really like how that turned out. It added some nice shadowing to this little guy. We'll add a little dot detail with our markers, and then we'll take the coordinating dies and die cut all of these images before putting them in place on the card design with some bling glue dots. And here's where we want to tuck our critters in between the two grass layers on the card so that it looks like they're looking up into the night sky watching the fireworks. And I want to make sure I kind of get those centered before I press those down in place. I added the hearts, put a little Nuvo drops white blizzard over those hearts to match the sparkles in the background. And here is a look at the card at work. Just spinning this little wheel here, changing out that greeting. Isn't that so much fun? I absolutely adore the Lawnfawn Reveal Wheel die collection, and I hope this has inspired you to try creating your own scene card using the Reveal Wheel dies. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this night sky interactive reveal wheel card featuring Lawnfawn. Please be sure to visit the Lawnfawn blog for more information. Thanks for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.